This special edition of Founders and Visionaries is brought to you by Kona Brewing Company.
That's the song for the ukulele right there.
That's the song.
I will share it with no other instrument. Okay? Okay.
Mom.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now this ukulele was made from 4 endemic woods that we have here in Hawaii. Number 1, of course, is the koa. Koko'olau, ohia, and the iliahi. The iliahi is the sandalwood. Yeah. So, take a whiff. Smell it? No, yeah? You smell good? That's the iliahi. That's the iliahi. And funny, you know, when I was pinging, whenever I strum, I get a whiff of the iliahi, you know. And that kind of goes, oh yeah, oh, now, yeah.
So people can sponsor a tree, have the experience of coming up here and planting the tree, but there's another way that you've created for them to stay connected to that tree too. Explain that.
When we started this from an investor's point of view, one of the big concerns was, how do I know that my tree is my tree and that no one has been sold the same tree? And so we looked at a variety of technologies and finally settled on RFID tags, which is an electronic serial number that you can attach to the tree. And that electronic serial number has allowed us to track all of the history of that tree, both its parentage and its care and its GPS location in the field. And because we're able to do that, maps can be generated that show the exact location of every tree and the identity of that tree. So if someone has sponsored that tree and they look at that map and they click on their tree, it'll bring up all the information about that tree.
So now with your own GPS numbers, you can actually go online and click in and watch your tree grow.
Absolutely. In fact, the tree that you planted, you'll be able to zoom right in on that location and see the tree as it is today and how it grows over the next years.
That's cool stuff.
All right.
Mahalo.
You're welcome.
And I know that you've also shared with me, not only do people do trees in memory of, but at times you've had people who will bring ashes up and want to put them in the dirt with the tree so that the tree actually absorbs you know, the DNA of that person, which is fascinating.
It is.
A lot more personal than when you adopt a star and you get a certificate for that. So.
And I think one of the reasons that this has been so successful is people that donated money to conservation organizations for reforestation, they donate their money, it'd go into a pool, and somewhere people were planting trees. But in our case, there's such a complete link between their sponsorship and an exact tree that there's a sense of ownership or identity with it that is much more compelling than just donating money to a cause.
This is a perfect example of life, that it nurtures us together. And yet, God brought us here to this special place today. That is priceless, there are no boundaries, that is wonderful. Thank you.
I think what really separates this is if you think about it globally or you know, larger than yourself, and people look at what's going on and they go, oh, deforestation, it's such a big deal. You know, I'm going to make a donation. I don't know if it did any good, you know, that sort of thing. Whereas with what we're doing, they can not only be part of the bigger picture, but if they want to drill down and see the granular impact that they have, they can say, that's my tree right there. I'll help put that in the ground. And I think that connectivity makes everybody's individual efforts come together, so you kind of get both. You get the satisfaction of saying, that's what I did, and then you can step back and see how it impacts with everybody else's efforts.
And Jeff, this initial dream of having these trees and reforestation, you've now found a multitude of ways of expanding what's happening out here. Talk to me about some of the other businesses and what else has come out of this.
Oh, gee. Well, we've recently expanded into the production of honey, and this is the first ever koa honey ever produced in the world. And with that koa honey, we've formed partnerships with Kona Brewing Company to create the first ever beer made with koa honey, and we've also got plans to roll out the first ever koa honey shochu. From the outside looking in, most people would say they're not connected, but they really are, because everything we're doing here is trying to show landowners that there are economic solutions to putting forests back. In a nutshell, we're trying to provide an opportunity for landowners to do well while doing good.
Tell me about some of the companies in Hawaii who have partnered with you in this effort, either to buy trees or...
We have some excellent partnerships. Four Seasons Hualalai has committed to 500,000 trees. We also have Hagedon Printing, which is the largest printer in the state. More recently, we have partnered with the Kahala Resort, and they're making a commitment for 100,000 trees, and that's on the island of Oahu.
So it's coming to Oahu too?
Coming to a theater near you.
Yes, exactly.
And then just recently, we were certified as the first gold standard carbon credit in North America.
Now you have to explain how those carbon credits work, because that's pretty cool stuff and very innovative.
Trees are a really good carbon sink because they take up carbon dioxide, release oxygen, and stored carbon.
And then the carbon credits, how do those work?
So our sequestration helps to offset some of the carbon dioxide pollution by other industries.
So with the credits, you're basically saying, I know I pollute,
Yeah.
but I am going to pay for something that's going to help clean up that
That's
pollution.
pretty much exactly what goes on.
Now, see, I understood her.
Yeah.
This was a series of
It took
whistles
me
and clicks.
3 years, though, of being with you to get it down into one sentence.
Very good.
But it's brilliant. And what I also love, and Jeff, you shared, is that you have some companies, even locally, that care about the environment. And even though they're not polluting, they're interested in promoting and purchasing the credits just to say that we're doing good by our island home. So
Yes, and the whole methodology for us doing the carbon is because carbon is a long-term project, a 50-year project, and it generates revenue every year for the next 50 years. And once the forest is in place and paid for, you still have land taxes or fences that are broken or just general repair. We found that annually, the carbon that's sequestered that can be sold will generate enough income for the forest to maintain that forest for 3 years. So this could push out 150 years. After that, it's somebody else's. We discussed it. It's somebody else's problem.
our children's
Exactly.
Yes.
problem.
Yeah.
The problem with any large problem is I think people have a tendency to think that the solution has to be really complicated. A really good example of this is back in the 60s. There was a space race going on between the Russians and the Americans. One of the issues was, how do you get a writing utensil in space that can write in zero gravity and upside down? And so NASA hired the Fisher Pen Company to create a device, and they spent over $1 million of R&D. The Russians brought a pencil. Okay, so the point here is that it does not have to be complicated, and the simple yet profound act of planting a tree could very well solve the problems of today and future problems for our children with regard to the environment.
And yet the 300,000 trees you've planted and you've poured your heart into every one of them, you've said that equates about how much of the problem in the...
Based on current statistics, they clear an area that size about every 19 seconds. So
somewhere in the world.
Yes, so we have some work to do.
But every little bit makes a
It
difference.
absolutely does. And we're a small organization. A lot of times people think, well, if you're small, you don't really have an impact on big things. But anybody who says that has never spent an evening in a tent with a mosquito, right? There's a perfect example of how little things can have profound impacts. So, and we're just doing this in Hawaii, a little spot on the map. And we're making changes here that matter.
Plant me a koa tree. Don't you cry for me. Plant me a koa tree. Don't you cry for me. You touched all the people with your music. It made sense of so much noise.
Mahalo na aina. Mahalo ke akua. Na kupuna, na ohana, na meho aloha.